Hey guys, what's going on? If you hear any random boofing in the background, then don't mind that. That's just dogs barking in the middle of the night when they shouldn't be. I was actually just went outside and was like, what are you guys barking at? And they kind of just did that dog thing where they stare at you absently and their whole ass starts wagging back and forth. I'm doing it right now. Why am I doing it? Okay, anyways. It's very cold outside, but I'm going to use that as my lead-in. But this is my favorite time of the year. October, I would usually describe October as being my favorite month. It kind of goes hand in hand with September and November too, beginning in November. I just really like the weather this time of year. And specifically, I guess, October because it's the Halloween month. That's pretty much it. And I'm just, I'm not really a gothic person. I'm not a spooky person, but, I just always enjoyed the sort of off holiday-esque kind of nature of Halloween, I guess. So this is something I mentioned in, I think, a previous video, that I wanted to see if I could draw a monster lady or something every day of the month. And I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. But then I went ahead and did it anyways. Actually, my original idea was maybe I could release a video a day for a whole month. Then I thought, this sounds very tiring and would make me want to kill myself. And it was very tiring. I'm not going to kill myself just yet, but it was very, very tiring. I did manage to pull it off this month. I did a total of, I think, 79 drawings this month. I did most of them on stream. And for this video, I thought I would actually go through it and just talk about my experiences doing that and show off all of them in the process. There's actually more drawings that I did. There's some indivisible stuff I had to do because of the reward stuff, but that's like NDA, so there's no point showing that off. But let's get started, I guess. I guess the first thing I'll start out with will be Celody, or whatever her name is. You remember from the prior video about the spider lady? We were designing that. That's where I mentioned it. I can't remember. But I eventually finished her. This is actually from day 7. I finished her then. And I'll try to use Paint Tool Side to show off all these. I'm not going to talk too much in length about all these since there are 79 of them, but I just wanted to show off most of them. She ended up coming together pretty well. It took me quite a while to actually work out all the kinks with her posing and everything. I kind of figured out the reason why her legs looked wonky, I think I mentioned that last time, was mainly because I had to kind of keep them spread apart in a very odd way in order to make sure that you could actually see like the skirt area and stuff like that. So, but she's doing it pretty nice. I liked her personality. People seem to really enjoy her. And I've seen some more spider ladies from other people since then. So everything worked out nice and neat. A common theme that you'll see with this month is that I drew a lot of characters from the old Scooby-Doo movie, Ghoul School. It's something that's very popular on the comics and cartoons board on 4chan. There's a few other artists that actually do characterizations of them, and I kind of join in on this. There's a guy that kind of goes by Henry or Herney or kind of Horny, or, he has various names, but this is kind of more his design, this Phantasma design, sort of redesign of the character. I like drawing her. You'll see all of them together eventually. But, joke image, I just like, people took this to mean there was some sort of abortion joke, and I saw that as like, oh no, that's awful. My actual idea was that it, like, of course it's kind of lewd, but, was that she was, like, they're not even like people, they're just like these little ethereal things. I don't even know what exactly they're supposed to be, but it's just like, I kind of imagine her going to sleep and they like pop out of her hair or something, or her clothes kind of manifest into these little things and they go flying off. And she doesn't even know what in the world they are or something like that. But, if you want to read it more into it, go ahead. Go ahead. And I did various other little drawings. This is all from day 1, these. Sibella laying down. A lot of these are going to be sketches. Like, that's one of the things with doing all these, is, they're not all going to be like complete pieces. If you're going to draw everything in 1 month, it gets very tiring very quickly, and this is from just day 1. But you're going to have like practice sketches, like this was a practice sketch, and then I went to drawing the same thing. I just tried to focus more this time on making it more character driven, sharper, more angular lines, trying to make it more of a style rather than just drawing loose. And so you end up with something like this. And this is just later on in the day. And generally drawing, like, usually if you see anything on the YouTube channel specifically, and even on my Tumblr sometimes, you'll see more finished things that, outside of like this month anyways, things that I worked on for like 3 or 4 hours, and I just kept working on until it actually was correct. But most of the time, I just draw things like this. Things are very sketchy, very, very fast. I forgot I made that Teen Wolf pregnant joke. But for the most part, most of the things that you draw are just going to be like that. They're going to be kind of next to nothing little sketches. So that's all day 1. Elsa from the Ghoul School, day 2. Again, kind of just trying to sketch things out as fast as possible. With Elsa specifically, this past month, I spent a lot of time trying to work out the redesigns of the characters. Elsa and Tannis specifically. I'll get more to those in a bit. When did I do that anyways? What day was that? It's probably going to be way later. Yeah, I might have to actually show off. Hold on real fast. Because I did a much earlier redesign of all the characters. And actually it'd be easier to just pull it up on Google. If you just type in Ghoul School, it'll be one of the first results. But I did redesigns of all the characters earlier on. And those are the ones that I've kind of been running with. The original ones, here it is. The original ones were, or the original models were, like this is, as I said, that was Hernie's design. And this one was kind of floating around on the Comics and Cartoons board. I'm not sure who it really belonged to originally. But this Wendy design has become kind of the de facto go-to for everyone that draws her. This Tannis was mine. This Elsa is mine. This Sibella, I guess, also is mine, technically. Although I kind of tried to model it to look like these other twos. So it kind of took more strength from these. And I ended up trying to rework her a few times because some people didn't like her long hair. And some people preferred, some people do prefer the short hair. But I did like kind of the angular look of her face. But it's hard to keep doing that while not giving her the same expression over and over again. So that's one of the things I was kind of having to work out there. But anyways, these are all the Ghoul School girls, just so that whenever I start mentioning their names, you know exactly who they are. But this is Elsa. I was trying to draw Elsa again. Okay. But yeah, in the process of doing all that, you couldn't even pick up the results on that. But in the process of drawing all these things, most of these are going to be sketches. Here's a Muffet image. This is at the end of, I think we were watching The Thing that day. And I don't even know where in the world it came from. I think someone mentioned that I had only drawn the Ghoul School characters, and I decided, I'll draw something else. I should have drawn more Muffet this past month. But I like drawing this way, where everything's very loose and sketchy. It isn't, I don't know, I guess it might look a little bit better to a lot of people, and to me, it can look better. There's a few other ones later on that ended up looking pretty good, pretty solid. But it's a lot more fun, and artists generally say this, it's a lot more fun to sketch things out than it is to actually finish drawings. Because actually coloring them can be kind of a pain in the butt. And even if it's not, it's more tedious. Whereas whenever there's those boofings. Whereas if you're sketching things out, you're kind of giving things life and exploring an idea. And that's kind of more the fun aspects of drawing, I guess. Is where you're actually coming up with ideas. Here's Tannis, adult Tannis. That's kind of a contention with a lot of people that were attempting to redesign her, which a lot of people were this month. It wasn't just me doing stuff this month. A lot of artists join in on this sort of Oktoberfest of drawing monster women and, old movie serial kind of designs and things like that. But this is my attempt to make an older Tannis that had grown up and become a business lady or something of that nature. Some people were asking, how exactly would she grow up? Because she's supposed to be a mummy, right? And I thought, well, maybe she's like maybe she kind of just, like, she's actually her bandages or something. and like her spirit is in the bandages, and the more that she adds to that, the more she physically ages. And the joke of her being like she's actually thousands of years old or something silly, and the joke with that is that a lot of people were portraying her as actually being the most adult out of all of them. She just looks like a kid, so she's very irritated with being treated like one. And if you find some of those images, those quote-unquote those images, you'll know what I'm talking about. Winnie wagging her butt, happy with the prospect of being thrown at stake and whatnot. And this is another one of those sketchy things where I drew things very quickly and tried to color them in very rapidly. No blending, really, just used a basic brush, just trying to sketch things out as fast as possible. Those are also pretty fun. And kind of this is true for me whenever I was a kid, and I think it's true for a lot of people, is that things that look sketchy, where you can actually see the draft lines and it doesn't look clean, actually have more energy and sort of personality to them. And a lot of people prefer those over a cleaned up final drawing. And that's kind of one of the things I really enjoy about doing things like this, is that I don't really have to commit to anything. I can just work through things as fast as possible. This high hairline bothers the shit out of me. It should be something a bit more like that. This is one of those things where I only did one draft. This is just like, I didn't do a primary on this either. I just drew it as fast as I possibly could, so it has a lot of errors and stuff inside of it. This is one of the reasons why people don't release drafts that much, because they usually have tons of errors. Minotaur Lady. I was thinking, I wonder how I could I was thinking of random generic monsters to draw is what this was. And Minotaur Lady was one of them. Turned out pretty well, though. I kind of like the look of her. I don't think anyone really commented on her, though. I do like her, though. Moth Girl. A lot of people commented on the Moth Girl because she's so fucking kawaii. Yeah, she's a cutie. Another one of those things where I kind of sketch things out. I did have a primary, and I went over this with line, but I did not add any real coloring or any scale to the shading. And that can also be fun, because it almost feels like you're cheating whenever you're drawing. That you don't finish it, you just add a little bit. You just like one tone the image, like I did here. Then add this little back shade of she's standing against a wall or something, and you're done. And it feels like you really got away with something. Gigantic Naga Lady. This I think came from me asking Hernie what his favorite monster woman was, I think, and he said it was like a reptile or like a naga or mermaids. And a lot of people were asking for mermaids, so I did one. Although I did this one off stream, I think. One thing that comes to mind whenever we're looking at these is back in the jury video where I did something with Pat and Wooly. Pat was under the mistaken impression that you just draw something, like you don't require drafting. Because I remember he was surprised that I was doing like drafts and going back over it and trying to fix things. And he said, I thought you just drew it right the first time. And of course, me and Wooly had a good laugh at that. At his expense. And I was kind of thinking to myself the other day, it's sort of like planning a building. You don't just walk out with a bunch of boards and start putting up boards randomly until it works. You have to sit down and plan things out beforehand. You have to make a bunch of drafts and figure out, oh, this is going to be here, this is going to be over there. If things work out the right way, then we'll do this. We'll make an adjustment later. You know, that's how you draw. If you start drawing something like that and it doesn't look right the first time, a lot of people get disheartened because it doesn't look the way I want it to. Don't worry about it. It's going to look like shit. That's the whole point of drawing. Like this Tannis one, I can never get the perspective quite right. So that's the reason why I did not bother finishing the chair or working it out. One, I didn't want to. I didn't care. I just wanted to get this design down. But the rest of it is just because, I didn't feel like taking out the time in the stream that I was actually in to be able to completely flesh out what the angle of the chair was and everything like that. It was not important. It wasn't important at all. But again, another attempt at aged up Tannis. I would go back to this later on in the month. This kind of general design of her clothing, which I think that worked out pretty well. I kind of struck upon this idea of, instead of her just being nothing but bandages and using her bandages as hair is something I kept trying to do. Instead of doing that, I would leave these big exposed areas of quote-unquote skin, sort of this Queen Tyranny thing from Duck Dodgers, if you know who that is. That sort of idea, where it's used to, like, it's so pitch black that it clouds a lot of details. It works out pretty well. It's pretty easy to design around that. Quick, very, very fast drawing of Tim's. What Tim learned in college, Tim not sure anymore. I was originally going to flesh this out a little bit more, but I thought, nah, that's stupid enough as it is. I'll just move on with my life. And that was the end of... That was, I think, the first drawing of day 3. This is the start of day 4. I only did 2, yeah. I did... This is one of those days where I did a quick sketch to try to get... That's one of the things about drawing. People think that you draw the same way every time. You don't. Some days you wake up, you cannot do anything. You know how... There's experiments where people are given like LSD or something, you know, scientific experiments, and they ask them to draw something, and it'll just be all over the place. Like they're trying to draw a straight line, or they're trying to draw someone's face, and there's just wobbly nonsense. Your body chemistry greatly affects your ability to draw. This is one of the things people don't really think about, but there will be days where you wake up and you just cannot draw anything. This is not one of those days, really. But I had, like, the very last day that I drew, actually, was just like this. And I just, for the life of me, I just could not draw the way that I normally could draw. And some days are just going to be like that. You just have to kind of get over it. Another Ghoul School image, of course. I enjoy drawing her bat form. I actually drew this once before, and Windows updated and caused all of my progress to be lost completely. So actually, there was a slightly better version of this image, and I just had to go back over it. I just had to remember the whole thing, because there was nothing saved from it. Windows ate all of it, unfortunately. And this is when I actually got that draft out of the way. Like that's what I was trying to say. Whenever you're doing drafts, whenever you start drawing for a day, you usually do a warm-up drawing. And I can't explain the biology behind it, but you kind of just do that to be able to get your body working in such a way that it remembers, oh, this how draw good. And I don't know why the inside of my body is an ancient barbarian, but whatever. And that kind of just gets you into the rhythm of being able to actually do something without your body exploding in viscera in every direction. And gets it to where you can explode in other things in every direction, yes. Case in point, Creepy Susie here from the Oblongs, who... The creator of the Oblongs has a lot of fun with her, because he's kind of taken note that people have started sexualizing her. And he said at some point she doesn't have a vagina, which is funny, because in the original book that she appeared in that he made, one of the jokes that, like, you should check out his book on it, actually. I can't remember the dude's name, but one of the jokes was her thinking about some boy and saying that it makes her vagina quiver in ways that she doesn't understand, or it was something like that. But point being, is very inappropriate, and you shouldn't draw things like this. Why are you even looking at this video? And this is day 5. This is one of those days where I just drew one image and that was it. No drafts or anything. There was a picture that someone else had drawn in a 4chan thread. And it was of... I think it was... No, shit. It was either Sibella or... No, it was... I think it was Phantasma. That was actually wearing a shirt that had a 3 winning moon on it. But it was, of course, very quickly drawn and everything. So I thought it would be cute to have a drawing like that. So I took it upon myself to make a terrible rendition of it, which took several hours and was not worth my time at all. But it turned out all right. One thing I will point out, drawing flannel is a nightmare. Do not draw flannel. How you actually end up having to do it is you start with the base, where it's just a red shirt, in this case. Easiest way to do it is to make multiply layers, and then draw like your lines down, and then draw on another layer your lines across, and then do another layer where it's like a thicker version of those lines, except not in the same exact places. And then you do 2 of those, and then for the last one you do a lighter one, which is like this part. And you do a few of those to where you get that flannel look. And that one would probably not be multiply. It would probably be, I don't know, like a overlay or luminosity or whatever works for that particular image. And that's how you make flannel. It is a pain in the ass. Do not do that. So that was day 5. And if you can't tell, there's going to be a running thing with this. This month was exhausting to me. Like, this is the start of day 6, where I decided, what can I do, Monster Woman? I don't want to do another Monster Woman. So I decided, you know what, I'll do like a dinosaur lady. I don't think I've ever done that. So Ankylosaurus did a Ankylosaurus lady. I like how she turned out. She seems fun. And day 7 was the original, was this one that I finished. So no need to worry about that. And on to day 8, there's a German cartoon, School for Young Vampires or something like that. I can't remember. It's some weird German name, and Germans have this habit of, instead of making new words, they just throw like a million of them together and pretend it's one word. It's a big clusterfuck, but she's from that show, whatever it is. I've never seen it, but see, she's another popular character, so I drew her. I drew her a couple times, actually. And this is a Kobold Princess from, or a variation of that design anyways, from Tower Girls. If you don't know what Tower Girls is, I ain't gonna explain it shit. It's too complicated. There's something called Tower Girls. And it has lots of cute little designs, and one of them involves Kobold Princess. And Kobold Princess, I think, is from a much earlier comic, of which the line, "I'm getting too chivalrous for this shit," you might recognize. That is what that is from. Okay, but anyways. There's another guy on Tumblr I watch sometimes, who kind of interact sometimes. Colo Draws, with a C. He does a lot of very cute... I really love the way that he draws. Or she draws. I think it's... Yeah, it's he. It's he. Because I've watched one of his Twitch streams. I really like the way that he draws. He draws a lot of like like he does a thing called army doggos, where there's little Chihuahua guys and these much larger. You can see why this appeals to me. Much larger authoritarian female doggos that look sort of like this. This is one of his characters called Misha. But you can investigate that on your own. But the way that he draws is super cute. Sort of mini conversation I had with him, something that I had to explain to in my chat, whatever I was drawing, was there's something I like to call cheating. This is the only way to describe it, really. Cheating, whenever it comes to, and I'll talk about this later on day 15, it looks like, in regards to model design. And I'll kind of briefly do this, actually. And he admitted to this because I asked about it. It's like, yeah, I do have to do that. But there are certain things like these long snouts on certain kind of cartoon characters where they look good if you draw them, from the side. They look good if you draw them kind of straight on to where you don't have to draw the snout and it's kind of just eyes and a little nose because you can get away with that. But the moment that you go from like side 1/4 to half, like half. This is half. And then 3/4 would be like this, I guess. And full would be this. As far as a straight on goes. Like, these two are big problems. Because unless you're drawing it like a steep angle like that, then you have to draw the side of the face too. And this is something you may not really understand. But you have to draw the side of the face. And so it ends up looking very strange looking. Because you get the physical profile of that muzzle combined with the fact that whenever you're drawing these things, like I draw by making sort of a human looking form and then just making it more exotic looking by cheating in that way and adding these details that if you saw them in real life would not only be uncanny valley, they would probably be horrifying, right? There's no way it would actually look attractive. But because you're working in illustrative form, then you can get away with it. But that sort of model cheating that I'm talking about, that you can't really draw them at specific angles, or else it looks really fucked up and strange looking, because you're looking at it in a very three-dimensional perspective. Like if there's cartoons like Teen Titans Go or My Little Pony or something, to use modern examples. They're shot on very flat angles. And the characters are just like this, right? And if they turn, you don't see a very slow, methodical turn where their model kind of changes like that. They just flip. Like they go from looking this direction to now looking this direction. And they don't really animate anything in between. And part of the reasons why they do that is because they're working with that model that is made for being viewed in a two-dimensional perspective. And if you start rendering them in too much of a three-dimensional perspective, then you see exactly what they look like if they have a physical body. And it looks so fucked up that people just don't do it. So, point being, Kolo, like whenever he's doing his army doggo things, he is sort of restricted. And this is not a criticism of him, it's just an element of how people draw and how you have to draw. Is you're restricted by the specific angles that you have to work by, or else the image does not function correctly. And I'll get into that more later once we get into an Alien Girl that I do the week after this. Hold on real fast. I'm going to clear out the cache on this somewhat. Actually, I have a good idea for doing this. I'm going to use this as my buffer. That way I can clear all of them out at the same time. Buffer. Puffer. Aha, did the Lord part first. Okay. And that way I can just do that. Well, I could, anyways. And, close all of them out. Unfortunately, Sai does not have the ability to close individual tabs with a keystroke, which is where this problem comes in. Photoshop does, but Photoshop eats up so much memory because it's not that great of a program that you can't really do that. But here's another image of Kobold Princess on day 9 that I worked out. This is another day where I spent all of it on a single image. Took a very long time. If you cannot tell. This is, people pointed out that that might be a Legend of the Sun down there at the bottom. Who can tell? But it's pretty fun actually making the primary to this image. And it was kind of fun doing the color theory on it. But actually like doing the shading of all the little overlapping, like see how she has a pattern to her. And all of it has to overlap. And the tone of the image has to change, see here, based on whether it's overlapping with this or not. And since I was not working, like I wasn't using multiply layers to create my shading or anything. Like I don't really shade that way anymore unless I'm just being very, very lazy. And you shouldn't either. It's something that you eventually should get out of because you don't have enough control over the tone of the tone and color of the image and saturation and so forth. Something you should eventually get away from. So doing that, creating all these individual little things, oh my gosh, I was ready to just die, roll over and die after all that. And you can see that in day 10. Whenever all my images were just, I didn't want to draw that day. I woke up and felt really, really bad. So I just drew a sequence of images of the girls just being tired and frustrated. And you can tell it had an impact on my physiology because, like, I physically could not draw this day. Like, these were just sketches, of course. It could have been better if, I was trying a little bit harder and all that. But, yeah, I was just too tired to deal with it. I just could not. And poor Ted, this is about the time where the joke image of Tannis actually being older than everyone else and having her own adult needs and desires showed up as well. That's very inappropriate. Do not draw things like this. Do not do as I do. Or do as I do. Whichever. I say that and then it goes to this image. I think Matt and Pat did their little thing of Spooky, or I was rewatching it, or something new came out with it. Yeah, I think they did do a one-off. Yeah. They did the DLC, didn't they? But one of the characters, the new characters that I do later. No, it's the day after this. A new character that shows up is a wolf girl, and you can see where this is going. But before I got around to drawing her, I decided, you know what? There's always something a little bit uncomfortable about Spooky. So, you know what? I'm going to exploit that and make everyone feel very bad about themselves. So, my idea for making everyone feel very uncomfortable about this image, actually backfired, and people actually really, really loved it, and it got a shit ton of notes on Tumblr because people are actually inhuman monsters. Can't help it. Can't help it. But the day right after that is whenever I drew the Wolf Girl. And my idea with this one is that she wants to kill you in the game. Like, she's not a friendly person. And I thought maybe she's just being very playful. Yes. Maybe I'm inappropriate and I'm actually a monster that's going to be arrested this coming year. Who can say, really? Who knows? But that was my idea for this drawing. This is another one of the ones where I was trying out different ways of coloring. And there were a few parts of this where it actually worked. Like this, the hand, for example. I really like how that turned out. With the sort of blends and kind of looks... It doesn't really look realistic, but it does have that sort of... I don't know. It has a unique look about it that I really like. And that comes actually from... I'm not going to explain how the shade, but, putting down a solid color and then blending out of it with a smaller brush. Then blending out of it like that. But that's how I was doing that at the time. But yeah, another one of those images that took a very, very long time to do. Some of these pictures took in excess of about... Not too many of them, but some of these pictures took in excess of about, 7 or 8 hours to complete. Partially because we were, watching movies and stuff at the same time on Picardo. Things like that. Oh gosh. At the end of the Ghoul School movie, I didn't explain. Oh gosh, there's no way I can find resources for this. I should have done this beforehand. But at the very end of the Ghoul School movie, there's a joke of, now you have to teach our new additions to the thing, and the school. And it's a little alien girl, the girl of, the daughter of the creature from the Black Lagoon, and a Godzilla daughter. It's just Godzilla in a tutu is what it is. And people were trying to redesign them as well, because they had become a thing on the board. And no one was really having much success at it, so I took my swing at it. I think she turned out pretty well. People were wondering what this was coming out of her head. It's just wrapping. I just put a wrap on her head and put a little flower on it. I think she's cute. I think she's a cute character. Drew Scorpion Lady just because I was thinking of different monster girls and think, what do people not draw? I thought Scorpion Lady. I don't even remember where it came from. I think I was looking at news that day and there was an image of a scorpion on the sidebar or something stupid. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. But I kind of thought, well, I did one sort of insect arachnid. Maybe I'll do another one. So the day after that, I had the idea of doing this butterfly lady. And one of the things some people may not know about me is I have this kind of weird sleep disorder where I sometimes will just kind of fall asleep randomly. It's not like old man disease or anything. But there will be other days where I just cannot go to sleep. It's not really insomnia either. But I tend to rotate a complete day every week and a half or so, which made college absolute hell. It's always been that way ever since I was a kid. I stay awake longer than I really need to. And it only got worse after I got a computer because, computers, make you stay awake longer because you're being hit with light. And your body sees light and assumes that it's daylight, so it wants to keep staying up. But in addition to all those factors, it's only gotten worse over time. So that's one of the reasons why it's good that I keep staying, that I'm able to work on my own and be self-employed, because otherwise, I don't know what I would do. I have no idea. It would just be a nightmare. But anyways, point being, I only drew this one image this day because my days were overlapping in such a way that this day and one of the first days of the week, I forget which one it was, I actually kind of lost an entire day because I was, the way that it was working, I actually went to bed whenever one day started and then woke back up as it was starting again, so I didn't have time to. Whatever, anyways. But point being, there were days where whenever I was trying to do this one drawing a month day, one drawing a day for a whole month thing, is because of that, it was creating a lot of problems where I was actually having to operate by schedule that I didn't want to keep. So that's one of the things that you'll have to deal with if you take this challenge on yourself. This is the little alien girl that I was talking about. And this is one of the... Oh gosh, how am I going to find this? And this is one of the... School. Maybe I can find it. New arrivals, maybe. Oh, please find this. But there was... Oh god, it's not going to find it. Ah, shit, it's not going to find it at all. I would actually have to find a screen cap of it. Oh, please be on Google somewhere. Oh, God. No, it's not going to be on Google somewhere. Damn it, I'm going to have to actually go find it. Shit. But this is where I was talking about the idea of... Let's see if I can actually pause this before... Yes, I'm a master of this. I'm so good. This is going flawlessly. You guys love this. But this is one of the things where I was talking about in regards to model cheating. Let's lower the volume down so this doesn't get picked up on anything. Here we go, okay. But these are the new arrivals. This was the joke. But this is the girl that I'm talking about, the little alien girl. They were cheating very heavily with her model, because these are eye stalks that are popping up. And she does look kind of cute in this particular drawing. But the moment that you draw her at an angle, and she has these giant, like, eye stalks with an eye right there, she stops being cute really, really fast. That is model cheating. And it really sucks for this, because this forward angle is the only way that she actually looks cute. It's the only direction that you can view her model at that it actually works. And I think the person designing it knew that. So the problem with redesigning her was getting around that, and I'll talk about it in a second. But these were the other ones. And there's Fema Godzilla! I draw her later, too. Don't believe me? Just watch and see. But the one in the middle was the Creature from the Black Lagoon girl that I did earlier. So my way around this was actually kind of incorporating with her color, the way that her model works on this, was actually using that to my advantage. And these are not eye stalks, obviously, but they're just part of a sort of natural color pattern on her skin. And I used that to get around that problem. And I gave her these little stalks up here to be sort of reminiscent of the same sort of eye stalk design. And people wondered about the hat. The hat was mainly because her physical head in the original was absolutely massive. And her eyes were like down here, right? Even with the eye stalks, they were still down here. So, whenever, like, imagine her without the hat. She doesn't have ears. She doesn't have hair. So there's this gigantic skull area of nothing but just red skin. And these eye stalks will not be there either. So, that's a problem. So the reason why the hat is there is mainly to sort of create this sort of hair analog that you can get around. Same reason that I put the little bandages and the flower on the Black Lagoon girl. And it also helps to allow her to emote. Like you see the rim of where her hat is actually acts as sort of eyebrows, where she normally would not have any eyebrows because she doesn't have any hair, right? And that's one of the ways you can get around that problem. So overall, I really liked how she turned out. I liked her design. I don't think too many people picked up on her, though. I got some compliments on it, but not many people really kind of ran with her, unfortunately. I wish that she had gotten a little bit more play. Not too much, but a little bit more play, right? So, warm-up sketch day. This is another day where I kind of woke up and I was just not feeling, I couldn't draw anything. Anglerfish Girl. This one's down here is kind of alright. But it didn't take me too long to draw those. I was blasting through these images on day 15 as fast as I possibly could. And here's Godzilla Girl. Do you like her? I liked her. I was sitting there thinking, how can I... Like, at first I said, I'm not going to draw her. I'm not going to draw Godzilla in a tutu. I'm not going to take that seriously. And then I thought, no, I can do this. I can make it work. And so I did. And it was magnificent. This was an all sketch day. And this is just drawing all of them. I forgot about the face. Drawing all of them together. I really like how her model came out. She's also good, but I think she ended up being my favorite because her physical design, the way that everything kind of furls out and how compact she is, it's just very cute. I really like the way that it turned out. And this is the last image of day 15. We were watching Silent Hill that day on Picardo whenever I was streaming. And as the outro music for that day, I was playing the Pillarman thing from JoJo, Awaken. And I think someone mentioned something about, imagine if Pyramid Head was a Pillar Man. And I thought, Yeah, okay. And I drew this in probably about like a minute and a half or so. This isn't like a minute and a half drawing. It might have been less than that. It might have been like a minute or 40 seconds or something. It was very fast because I was trying to draw it as fast as I possibly could. One of those rare circumstances where I knew exactly what it was going to look like before I even started putting strokes down. So, that's one of those things where if you know exactly what something is going to look like, sometimes you'll surprise yourself by how fast it comes out to where you don't even need a draft. That happens sometimes. But don't rely on that. Just because that doesn't happen every time does not mean anything. And the sort of idea of bad boy or bad girl Tannis was floating around 4chan at the time. So I decided to try to incorporate that into both of them and make them into bad girls. And people sure love that stupid cock hat, so I put that in there too. Because I guess I'm a dumbass. And Saiyan girls on Halloween night. I know you guys love your Saiyan girls. I love my Saiyan girls too. The next Trifusion that I'm going to be doing, the next series I'm doing, as I explained before, is going to be Trifusion of Blonde Launch, Zengia, and Android 18. Which, if you know who those characters are from Dragon Ball, you should be either excited or disgusted, or maybe both, for all that matter. But, yeah, Xenoverse 2 is out, so I'm thinking a lot about Dragon Ball for various reasons. I also woke up today for some reason thinking about Ayla from Chrono Trigger. God, I love Ayla. Anyways, yeah. So, Saiyan ladies on Halloween. I enjoyed putting armor on them, even though they're also wearing costumes. It doesn't make any sense. By the way, I love these big dumb witch hats. Well, I think that might be my favorite girl costume for Halloween. As cliche as it is, I really like big dumb witch hats. Something about them is very cute to me. The rest of the costume, not so much. Also, at this time, since Xenoverse had not come out and Civilization 6, which really hurts my eyes, so I can't really play it that much, had not come out yet, I was playing XCOM 2 again. And yeah, it shows. Got really excited about Snake Women again. This image did very, very well. It tracked very well in marketing. I thought about what excuse could I use to draw a Viper Girl over and over again for October. And I thought, hayrides, of course! Yes, hayrides! Everyone loves hayrides and the things that happen after hayrides. Actually, if you don't really live in the South, this might be a South exclusive thing or a Midwestern kind of thing. But yeah, hayrides are a thing and have other things associated with them sometimes. Don't linger on it too much. It's probably not important. But yeah, I went on kind of a Viper Girl kick for a while. I was just drawing them over and over again in my spare time as well, yes. And coming up with different things. I really like the idea of... It kind of goes along with the Saiyan women thing, too. I really like the idea of... I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm some sort of freak. Maybe. Who can say? Really? Yeah, I'm a freak. But this idea of powerful alien women that don't understand the customs of Earth. Something about that is very cute and arousing to me. So it's, I don't know, I kind of explored that in various ways this month. Best not to linger on it too much. I also like knee socks. Of all the people, always ask with panty and stocking, who's your waifu from the series? It's definitely knee socks. I prefer her over the other three girls from the series. Is there a fourth one? Or a fifth one, sorry? I don't think so. I think it's just mainly those four. There's some side characters and stuff, I think, but nothing that really ever pops up too much. I guess you could say Garter Belt is your waifu. And I wouldn't blame you. He's nice too. But yeah, I was just Googling pictures of sexy vampire Halloween, like slutty vampire costume for Halloween. And I just kept compiling together things I liked from each of them until I got one that I actually thought, this would be a good costume. And I worked with that. So it turned out pretty well. One of those images where it started as a sketch. If it's me, I can always look back at my drawings and tell which ones were things where I just kept adding things on top of them. And other ones where I had a complete composition in mind beforehand, and I went directly to that. This is definitely one where I was just throwing things together. Like I drew her and then I colored it in. And then I thought, I'll put in a background too. So I added like the tree line. And then I added in the sky, just Google image sky. And then I thought, no, I'll do something to sort of liven up the foreground too, so it doesn't look like she's just standing on nothing. So I added in the fog here and whatnot. I like fog, it's nice. So I guess the lesson is that I'm a terrible hack. People were asking for the thing lady. So on one of my transition days where I was talking about, like you can always tell, they're always about a week and a half apart. But this was another day where I was kind of rotating between days again from being awake too long. So this day I did not stream. I just drew this of my own accord. Very fast the thing lady. Although something I complain about, I'll complain about it about my own drawing here. Something that I complain about with a lot of Monster Girl designs, and especially Japanese Monster Girl designs, is that they will often just, they'll draw a lady. Here's my lady. And then they'll just like put in a hairband with ears on it. They'll still have normal human ears for some reason, but they'll just put a hairband on them because they don't want it to not be a lady. No, it needs to be beautiful. It needs to be normal. No one. It's not abnormal. No, stop. Japan. That's kind of their thing. But they do this thing, like even like a centaur or something. It's just here's a normal human girl. Oh, look, there's something down here, too. We won't draw it that often, but it's totally there. Don't worry about it. Although, usually, in my experience, centaur women specifically are people that want to fuck horses that are masquerading by putting a human on top of it. In my experience. At least Japanese versions of that. I don't know. Japan's fucking weird. I am, too. I can't really talk. That's one of the things I don't really like about Monster Girl design, is whenever people do that, where they just take a normal, like, human, and then they just, like, glue wings to the back of it. Or, like, if you're designing a Spider Woman or something, and you have, like, a normal human body, except, like, they don't even commit and add extra eyes. They'll do something like put like markings, like their eyebrows are meant to look like eyes, but they're not really eyes. Or they're wearing jewelry that is made to look like eyes. Because they don't want to have a Monster Girl. They just want an ordinary, generic, vanilla, boring-ass woman design. And they just want to glue like accessories to her. And that's it. That's not a Monster Girl. You're a coward. That's the right word. You're being a coward about it. Be true to your penis, or whatever it is that you're playing with during your cold, lonely nights. Do as I do. But yeah, the problem with the Thing Girl, people were asking for it earlier in the month because I had been watching The Thing, and people know that The Thing is my favorite movie. So people were like, draw the Thing Girl. And I kept trying to explain, you can't do that. It just ends up being a girl with shit coming out of her. And that's exactly what it was. I mean, I could, like, draw an ordinary woman with, like, her side opening it up or something. But that's not really designed. It's just a person that is being torn apart because she's actually the Thing. So, I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me too much. But here's a grufting again from that German cartoon once again. This is day 22. And if you might think I'm ripping something off, but I was very upfront about this being a straight-up reference to the Oglov comic. It's one of the very first ones where there's a spider doing things to a guy before it shoots webbing out of its butt and flies out the window. It's a pretty funny comic. But I can't remember where I got the idea to do this. I think I was trying to think up poses to put her in. Because trying to do dynamic poses was something I was trying to do this month, but I didn't do a particularly great job of it in most cases. I wish I'd been more aggressive with it. But I was trying to think of different things I could do with it. And I thought about this idea of her being kind of right on top of you and looking down. But I didn't want it to have a fisheye lens look to it. So I ended up pulling back out as far as the perspective goes. And I thought, well, it could be viewed from the perspective of her, like, being on top if I want to make it suggestive. Or, just standing in front of you. And I thought if if it was her, like you looking down on her, then it wouldn't work because then she would have to be looking up, so her eyes would have to be up here. It was a composition thing. Just I'm getting off track. But point being is the solution to that problem was having her just sitting like in front of you. And the best way of making that work was, well, if she was just sitting on top of you while you were laying down, it would work. And then I struck upon that idea, what if I was a pervert? And then everything clicked. You'll be surprised at how often just being a pervert fixes every single issue with a composition. It helps a lot. This is, it's not his. No, it's not his. But there's another guy that I will pop in and out of his streams, and he'll come in and out of mine. His name is Ed, I think. Wait, I think it's Ed. Anyways, but I was asking him what character of his that I should draw, because I was just drawing things, sketching that day while we were watching something. And it's not even his character, but it's one that he draws all the time. So that was the task that he gave me. So I drew the sort of, not a redneck, just kind of trailer park trash, I guess? I don't know, just tired and haggardly mouse woman design that he draws sometimes. But it actually belongs to someone else. And I'm not sure who it belongs to. But I tagged the image, so... shit. Well, whatever. There goes my glass of water. It's fine. But, yeah, that's the lesson learned of that. Anyways, more XCOM 2, ladies. As I was playing it, and I was thinking about the idea of... What if the masters or whatever are caught wind of, they seem to like the Vipers for some reason. These humans are weird. Let's use this to our advantage. So I thought about the idea of using them to bait out rookies that were hiding in the underbrush. So yeah, there's that. But this was day 23. That last image was for him. This one was for me. And this one was for Zone, who was also hanging around in that particular stream. Anatomy is not perfect in every way, but it was another one of those very fast, sketchy things. I like the moon. That's my favorite part of this image. Just the cutesy, overly cartoon-looking moon. I really like that moon. And also the rest of it's fine, too. And also big, dumb, poofy witch hat. You guys know that I love that big, dumb, poofy witch hat. Okay, so next day, day 24... I decided to go back and do a completely realized Ghoul School Girl sketch. I was going to do a big... Remember the one I showed you earlier of all the girls? I was going to do that again, except with updated designs and focus more on their personalities. That's something that I wanted to do for this month. And also people said that they wanted a muscle girl Elsa, because that's kind of her thing in the movie, is she is really concerned about physical fitness for some reason. I guess because she has a built body, so she's a bodybuilder. I feel like knocking over another glass of water now, just for the hell of it. I'm going to have to clean that up later. I'll probably forget about it. It's probably shorting out. Ooh, gosh. That power strip down there is not looking good now. Anyways, this day, it took so long to do all the draft. Oh, this is one of those days where I woke up and I could not draw for the life of me. And it took like 3 or 4 drafts before it actually worked. And even this one, like the one you're seeing here, I wonder if I still have the... Yeah, here it is. I don't know if I have the original drafts of it, though. If it'll actually load. But I actually drafted it once. Yeah, here we go. Because that's the final image that I ended up doing later. I'll show that again in a bit. Yeah, it's still the original. Crap. Oh, well, but anyways, point being is that this was not the final draft. I actually did this the day after. And the draft I had before this actually looked almost exactly like this in every way. It just had a lot shakier lines and it was a lot more sketchy looking. So I had to do like 5 or something drafts of it before it actually stuck. And it wasn't until several days later that I actually came back and finished the drawing. But for the time being, like, it took me hours just to do this, just because I was not feeling it that day. But Xenoverse 2 was almost upon us for a PC release. I think it had come out on PS4 by then. Whoops, too many images. Alright. No. No. Aha, buffer image. See? It works! Ha ha ha! Oh, I'm so pleased with myself. But Xenoverse 2 had come out on PS4, I think, by then. There's a kind of famous picture of someone's waifu, some boo waifu, that's someone's player character, where 4chan sometimes, when they have an anniversary event, they'll put like little party hats on every single image, since it's an image board. And it just so happened that this image, it looked like she was a very happy boo girl and had a party hat on. So I decided to just draw that real fast. And with the idea of it was her birthday or something, or she had a surprise party and she was just very, very happy. And I don't know, every so often I enjoy drawing pictures like this where it's just pleasant. Like, it's good to have pictures like that every so often. Not everything has to be sexual. Now, on the more sexual images. So, Felina from SWAT Cats. What need more be said? I like Felina from SWAT Cats. For my own reasons. I was trying to think, well, how is this Halloween related? And I thought, oh, I don't care. I just want to draw her. So I decided, you know what? She's wearing a police outfit. She's wearing a sexy police outfit. There, mission complete. And mission was indeed complete. This is another one of those examples of, I just wanted to get the line work down. And after that, I decided, you know what? I'll just go ahead and color it because I only want to do one image this day. Because that's another one of the things you have to worry about in regards to doing these one image day things for an entire month. They're very exhausting, and some days you don't want to draw anything, but you also don't want to upload just a generic nothing sketch. Because, if you do a nothing sketch, then you're probably going to want to do like 4 or 5 of them to be able to get away with it. So, I didn't want to just do that, so I just, okay, I'll just watch a video or listen to a video, and I'll draw at the same time. So that's what I did. And I did it well, goddammit. Just put a generic, framing background where it's just nothing, it's just some generic lighting, and you're done. Yes, I did it. Oh, God. I'm remembering all the exasperation of days like that. I'll get more into the summary whenever I'm through with this, but holy shit, it was so tiring at this point. So, this is another day where I didn't stream. And originally this drawing was not as suggestive as I made it out to be. Like, whenever I kind of get near the end of a lot of drawings, there's nothing wrong with them, but then I do one thing to make them more suggestive than they actually are. Like this, originally, her eyes were completely open. I think she was even looking forward. And of course, this was not here. So it just looked like that. And it was just a completely ordinary image. Because I just wanted to see if, I have memories of my mother's sketchbook. She used to draw herself, although not as much as I did. And one of the first things I remember is she had drawn this cat where it was very sketchy like this, where it had these sort of sketch lines to create shading. I've always loved drawing that way. That's one of my favorite, it probably is my favorite way to draw, where it's just like these sort of lines, where you're not really shading anything, you're not blending, you're just creating the illusion of depth using very fast, sketchy marks. And like I was saying earlier, people love to look at drawings like that. There's something intrinsically just very fun about them. It gives them way more life and energy. But anyways, I set out with the mission of doing that. For Winnie, in this case. Another girl school girl. And, of course, about, 9/10 of the way through, I decided, you know what? I'm going to make this more uncomfortable. Because it was already turning out pretty well. And by this point, I think I had lowered the eyelid some. Because, it being too wide was making her too expressive looking and made her look kind of insane. So by lowering the eyelid, I actually ended up kind of resolving that problem. And at that point, it made her look a little too suggestive. So I thought, you know what? I'll make this even more Halloween related. This was my original idea. I'll make this even more Halloween related by having her have her arm out, eating a s'more. And this, legit, you may not believe me, I actually did do this. And I thought, well, it doesn't really look right because the rest of the pose I didn't make to look like that. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put this down anyways. And then I thought, oh, this looks exactly the way that I think it looks. So I just ran with it. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make it as suggestive as possible. Because at this point, also, I was working on my color theory, and I was trying to blend everything together like that. Like I was sampling this and going back over with a brush like this, and trying to blend all the lines together so it looked a bit softer. Like that was my mission. I was trying to make it, like you'll notice the line work is not black, right? It's all actually like red. Like identify the lines, it's actually this shade of red right here. And so I was trying to make everything look very soft and very warm looking. So, which was making it look way more sexual too. So everything at this point had to compile together into a big clusterfuck. Well, no, that's the wrong word. Wrong word. A big menagerie of imagery that is uncomfortable for many people. And so I decided, you know what, just fuck it, I'll just run with it. Same thing actually happened in a previous month, if I can find that real fast. Do I have that image of that? Whenever Laurentis, yes, this one. Like some people got really angry about this picture that I drew back in August, whenever this Pokemon got announced. And this one also, I think I worked on this one in stream, actually. This one originally did not have, like, this part of it. I wanted her drawn in this pose because I was trying to give her a posture where I could draw her wings, and also her little skirt, and also her pants, and also all this, and her facial expression, and her claws, without clustering up the image. Because, like, the fact that she holds her claws like this means if she holds them in front of her body, you can't see her body. And if she just T-poses, then it looks stupid. And if you draw from, like, the back, then you're just seeing, like, her wings and nothing else, because her wings are so damn huge. So there's almost no poses that you can put her in which she actually looks, you know, ordinary, but you can actually see all the elements of her design. So giving her the sort of crouching posture was that was my solution for the problem. And as I kept working on it, you know, I kind of got to this point in the drawing where I was done, and then I added in my little eye shader things. I thought, it's kind of making her look a little bit too cute. Then I added the blush, because I like doing that to my chat while we're in Picardo streams. They always enjoy whenever I add blush. Everyone always freaks out. Oh my gosh, it's lewd now. And since people were saying it's lewd, I thought, you know what? This claw is already right up here. Because I think originally it was like back here, like I drawn this line, and it was just kind of positioned behind her face. So I thought, you know what, I'll just do this. I'll add like drool in. And you're probably saying drool, yeah, yeah, actually, I'm dead serious. Like whenever I even finished the image, I thought, well, it's just drool. Because maybe she's hungry or something. And my brain, like, you're ridiculing that, I'm sure. But in my head, I actually thought just, that's it. That's as far as it went with me. And I didn't really even think about it. And then when it got released on Twitter, it's like, oh my god, she's on her knees and there's white stuff in her mouth. And I thought, oh yeah. But of course I didn't fix it because I don't actually care. Right. But anyways, point being is that that's the way that I think sometimes. And I would say it gets me in trouble, but I work for myself, so it doesn't really get me in trouble either. But that's kind of where the Winnie image kind of came from. That's the reason why it looks that way, because I enjoy the joke of is it sexual or not? That's kind of my thing. I just enjoy it too much, and that's the reason why that exists, because it kind of evolves out of things like that as I'm drawing. Ghost Girl image finally finished. Obviously, just images in the background because it took me 2 days to completely finish this. Very, very intricate drawing. Took me a very long time. I had to zone out all the individual colors and shade them all individually. The only thing I didn't do individually was a lighting layer. And even that, there was a few areas where I kind of lassoed it out to change their individual saturation values. Oh, Flannel! Since I knocked over my glass of water, now I'm too thirsty. But yep, completed that image. This is, remember I was talking about Tannis, her outfit that I would bring back? This is it. I think her most recent design that I've kind of did here, I think that works pretty well. Because originally her actual canon appearance in the show is she is just like a little bitty like baby mummy thing. This is what made it so uncomfortable for a lot of people to make her more aged up and adult, because she's just this. She's supposed to be just like a young toddler, except she's a mummy. But she's also supposed to be thousands of years old. Yeah, I don't understand it either. It's best not to think about it. But anyways, redesign, because originally, like, look, she's nothing. She's just bandages. There's nothing to really design with. So giving her, like, you can see why they put a bow on top of her head and gave her like the little bitty makeshift ponytail made out of bandages in the back. Very difficult to work with that. So modern design, there's more to work with, and the more elements of design that you have, then the more you have to work with whenever you are doing things with that character. Drawing them in different poses, having them interacting with things on their body, like putting their hands on like their jeans or playing with their sleeves or things like that. Just, it gives you more options rather than if they're just a character that's just like completely naked, except they're just like a big blob creature or something. I'm trying to think of an example of a character like that, but I can't. It doesn't really work. You know, you want to give your characters more than just being a simple... Like, here's a great example. Next Day, day number 29. Carrie from Gumball. Like, she's just a ghost. That's all she is. She doesn't have clothing. She barely has the illusion of hair. It works really well for that show's design. You know, don't get me... I'm not criticizing it. But as far as having design that works in many different ways, it's not one of those designs because she's just a ghost. So this is definitely one of those things where I drew as fast as possible because I think this day I was just exhausted, so I just did not want to draw too much. Day number 30. Batgirl. Random Batgirl. This one actually started out upside down. And I didn't just lazily flip it. Actually, I got that wrong. I did that in reverse. I didn't even notice that. This should be this way. But I did mean for it to be upside down, because I did that last. But I actually had to draw it right side up and then flipped it. And then once I did all the background, I had to actually do it right side up that way. I wanted to talk about this one, not because of, you know, sexualized Batgirl. She licks her own tit. I actually wanted to talk about this one because her clothing... It took me forever to think up a way to clothe this poor woman. Because, she can't wear jeans because bats, this fold of skin comes all the way down to their legs, right? And it goes up to their tail. So you can't put on jeans. And you can't put on a t-shirt because what is it going to look like? This? Is it going to have sleeves this big around and it kind of stops here? Like, I'm sure you might say, yeah, do it, it's stupid, I like stupid stuff. I know you like stupid stuff, but I care a little bit more than that. And you might think this is just sexual for the sake of being sexual, and it is. It definitely is. But it's so much more. But it took me forever to think of a way to actually make this work. Because you can't have anything going horizontally on a Batgirl. So the only possible way that you can wear clothing as a Batgirl is if it is working only vertically and wraps all the way around down here. Because if you wrap this way, you still have to worry about the wings. So it has to hinge with the neck. And you might wonder, well, how does it... It still doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it actually does make sense. Because if the body is like this, and here's like the thigh, here's the legs. If the body is like this... then what it's doing is it's actually one piece, and it's kind of going down here. This is extremely lewd. And it's going across here, and it's just wrapping all the way around. And the tail is like right here, but the very back of it kind of opens up like this. It's sort of like suspenders. So the tail would actually be here, and it would come back around and sort of act like underwear. So it took me a while, but I finally figured out how to go about doing it. And there's probably like a kind of neck thing back here where you kind of unfasten and button it and so forth. So that was my solution. Everyone praised me for how smart I am. And I'm sure someone's going to draw up a diagram. It wouldn't work, it look like this. As people that disagree with me often say. So, day number 31. I was thinking about the idea of, this is another problem with my doing a theme for an entire month thing, is that I was going to, like this day I decided I want to redesign the girls for my thing that I'm going to be doing eventually. I guess it's going to have to be next year since so many things have come up this year. So I was that day going to sit down and start doing it, but then I noticed I was having an off day where I couldn't really draw correctly and nothing was really hitting just right. So I kind of got to this point. I thought, you know what? I've been playing Xenoverse. It's popular right now. I'll just explore the ideas of Saiyan armor for like a brief image as a warm-up image. And I did that, and I just called it a day with that. And I did several more images, none of which were really working. Like, for the life of me, I was not feeling it this day. And I kept drawing sketches over and over again, trying to get to the point where my body was like, hitting on all cylinders. I can't really explain it. Whenever you draw, you kind of have that experience where you're just trying to get your body to click. And once it does, suddenly everything is more or less okay. And you can kind of work out of that gutter that you're in. It's very strange. It has something to do with the body chemistry, and I cannot explain it. It's just something that happens to artists, and you can't do anything about it. So I just kept drawing over and over again. This is old model Winnie from the actual show, not the modern one that people use. And I kept just kind of drawing and drawing and drawing. And this is Sibella also eating s'mores. The title, this is actually Sibella S'mores. And I was trying to do the same thing as the Winnie image. Whereas the Winnie image, like everything was clicking that day. I was drawing perfectly. And even as I was drawing, I thought, man, I have absolute control over my line work today. My ability to create geometry is working very well. And I was just hitting on all cylinders that specific day. Everything was going just great. Whereas this day, it was not. And I'm not going to shit all over my own drawing exactly, but it shows. It does show. Could be better. One of those images where especially I drew it then. I was like, oh, well, it looks okay. And then I went back later. It's like, oh, God. And then I look at it for like 10 seconds. Like, okay, it's not that bad. It's one of those things. And this has nothing to do with anything, but this is a random shitty sketch I drew whenever Paige was streaming that awful Normal Boots dating game on Twitch, where his Jontron's bird exploded, and I suggested reassembling it with the girl's rabbit that got thrown away or torn apart or something. I don't know, what a shitty ass game that was. Anyways, I can't remember what day I drew this on. I guess I didn't number it. But this Lammy Halloween image, I guess, is the last thing that I'll show. It's not really Halloween related. I just wanted to draw Lammy, and because it's October, all of my things have to be related to October or fall or something in some way. So I was like, I'll put a jack-o'-lantern on a shirt. Done. Yes, excellent. But I can't remember what day I drew this on. But it was another day where I was kind of hitting on all cylinders, and everything was kind of working just so, and I didn't really have to put much effort into correcting anything. Oh, this was on October 2nd that I actually drew this. It was very, very early in the month, actually. Interesting. But she always had a very cute idea, and I think I actually drew this because I was in one of Minus 8's streams. Minus 8 is like a porn guy. Don't go looking too hard for it. But I really like the way... Like this is a weird thing with artists, and me specifically too, is even though I like draw like sexualized things as part of, a comedy, or sometimes just straight up just hey, that kind of thing. Whatever I just said means exactly, I don't know. But even though I do that, I also can completely detach myself from anything sexual. Like if you're doing life drawings or something. And I think even Matt from Two Best Friends has actually mentioned this in some videos, where he actually had to do some, and then like the first couple of days it's awkward, but then eventually you just stop caring and you don't really notice anything. It's like that, actual human nudity and stuff like that. If it becomes commonplace, then there's nothing special about it. Tangent here, but George Carlin had this bit of complaining about the use of curse words and things like that, about how they should be commonplace and not really looked upon negatively, and I disagree with that, because if the word like fuck or cunt or even like inappropriate words like nigger or something are used very easily and they don't mean anything, then they don't have any impact. And so as a result, there's no point in having those words. The advantage of having things that are inappropriate socially in some context, whatever the context is that it gives them more power, so that whenever you actually do use them, no matter the circumstance, good or bad, that it actually has more of an impact. It has more oomph. It actually means something. So that whenever you say that word, whenever you do that action, whenever you draw that image or whatever, then it has that impact it otherwise would never have if it was something that did not mean anything or meant the same thing as a garden variety word, right? Wait, why did I just go in? Where am I? What the hell was I talking about? The sexuality thing. But because mine is 8. I enjoy looking at his stuff, not because it's sexual or anything, but because I really think the way that he draws. He's like a South Korean, I think. So there's a big language barrier there. So, and if you find a stream or something, don't pop in and start asking random questions. He's not going to understand what the hell you're talking about. You might even upsetting or make him think that he's doing something wrong or something. Don't do that. But I really think the way that he draws is super cute. I love the way that he models things. So whenever I'm watching, I'm not sitting there, oh yeah, draw that fucking booby or whatever it is. I'm watching because I really, really like the way that he draws. And whenever, you're drawing your own shit, you kind of have that same sensation. You're not sitting there thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to draw that nipple shadow. Although sometimes I do that too, because, but, I'm actually I just enjoy the craft of doing it. This is one of those things. Most of the time you completely detach yourself from it. And the thing that people assume that your intent is whenever you're drawing things like that Laurentis image or the Winnie image is not actually your intent at all. It's just sort of a thing that you do at the very end of the drawing or you do in the midst of the drawing because it amuses you. And the actual point of the drawing is actually like, how much line strength do I have in this image? Can I get the proportions? Like this image, the thing I wanted to do is try to get the proportions just so and get the pose look fluid and organic and kind of cute looking. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I feel like I nailed it on this image. I'll say differently in a year, I'm sure, as I look back on this image and I'm horrified by how it looks. But for this one specifically, yeah, it worked out pretty well. And that's how I was kind of viewing it at the time. There's nothing really overtly sexual about pretty much any of these drawings. Other than maybe the Batgirl. Other than that naughty Batgirl. Only other thing I did this month was, aside from other things that I can't show NDA, is a long time ago, Picardo, I did polls and stuff to design a Saiyan girl for them specifically. And this was the result. Like, they wanted one that had a green theme, that had the specific hair, freckles, those specific eyes, and I eventually got around to updating it. So, all that together. But as far as doing all of that, as far as drawing for an entire month with this project of doing for an entire calendar year of October, doing at least one drawing for an entire month. Ugh, that's a terrible line. It is exhausting. I would not recommend doing it. Because as I said, I did 79 drawings total this month. Actually more than that, counting the NDA stuff that I can't talk about. So it's something more like 80 something. It is very exhausting, and there were many days. This is kind of the thing with it. It's a day-to-day thing. If you're going to do a project like this, it will force you to get better. So I would recommend doing it for that reason, and also, especially if you're going to end up doing industry work, or even if art is just a side project for you. It's just something that you do as a hobby, and you have an actual life that everything orients around. It will get you into a mindset of like being an adult about this sort of thing. of preparing and keeping schedules and knowing I have to do this day. I have to match the theme of something to this other project. It just gets you into this mindset of translating the skills that you'll develop over this month into other life experiences. So I would recommend doing this sort of project for that reason. But the experiences that you will have whenever you are doing these is that it is going to be tiring. It's going to be extremely tiring. You will have days where you want to do a full project like this. But you will realize I can't do that because I have to worry about tomorrow. Because tomorrow, if I do a huge project like this, I'm going to be so exhausted and drained, and my body is going to be so fucked up from sitting 11 hours in a chair, unable to move, that I will just not be able to do anything the next day. And even if I kind of just poop out something that day, what about the day after that? And there will be other days where you don't want to draw and you just want to do like dumb little sketches or whatever it is. And those will be the most probably satisfying days in a way. Or actually, I take it back. That the days where you don't want to draw anything at all are going to be the days where you suffer the most in a way, because you don't want to draw, and you're kind of just going through the motions for the sake of doing it, which, that's life, right? And the most satisfying days probably are the ones in which you're somewhere in between, where you just want to sketch things out. You're hitting on all cylinders. Everything looks great. And you're not committing to a big, elaborate final thing. And you're able to just sketch and just have fun with it. Those are the best kinds of drawings. Because you're not doing a big, elaborate project. You don't really care what it looks like. But it's turning out pretty good. And the energy that you're carrying over from being able to draw with that amount of ease is translating into drawing perfectly. And that's sort of the experience that you're going to have over the course of an entire month. So, anyways, that is my experience of doing this sort of project, of doing an entire calendar month of one image a day, trying to maintain a theme. So if you've ever seen artists do this sort of thing, that's the experience. It is very draining. It is very frustrating. It can be rewarding, but for the most part, once it is done, you do not want to do it again. And to that end, I will tell you now, I will not do this again. I've had that experience. I'm done with it. Because October, like I said, is probably my favorite month. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin it again. And as many decent drawings as came out of this month, it did kind of ruin the month for me. Because too much of my thoughts were occupied with worrying about it. And I don't want to do that. Part of the reason why I became self-employed is because if I actually had to have a job where I was committed to things all the time, I would just, I don't know what I would do. I'd just go crazy. I'd throw myself off a building at some point, I'm sure. It would be very, very depressing, especially living alone and having the lifestyle that I do. So it's just not something you really want to do. So next time around, I might do something, but it'll probably just be a one-off video, or I might do something like one video a week, if I do anything at all like that. And of course, every year changes, so I don't want to make plans either. So that's the advantage of doing sort of art-related projects. You don't have to worry about planning things like poor Matt has to do in regards to having a bunch of video games every single October. It must be a nightmare, especially since you run out of really good ones. And you end up having to just find things that are sort of laterally associated with, Halloween in some way, that aren't necessarily scary, but they are sort of associated with it. Yeah. One of those problems. So, won't do that again. Never again. But might do something sort of related. So my idea of doing a drawing a month in video format, I'm definitely sure that I did not do that, and that it was just a thought that I very briefly had before I regained my senses. Yep. So, expect next video I'm going to upload will be the first part in the Trifusion series of the DBZ girls that I was talking about. Well, it will be blonde launch specifically. I'm not going to do black-haired launch or purple-haired launch. Why would anyone purple-haired launch? May as well not even, like, I don't care a single. I'll get more into it later. Why am I rambling? But launch 18, and Zengia. Zengia is the sort of teal-skinned lady with bright orange hair that's basically just a reskinned Android 18. She's from one of the movies. She's from the, what's his name? The pirate, the stupid pirate. Bojack. I almost said Bardock. From the stupid Bojack movie that was actually terrible. Anyways, I'll have a lot to say about DBZ in those videos, I'm sure. So, hope you guys enjoyed this rambling nonsense that makes up for not making 31 videos in a row. I'm very proud of myself for not doing that. You would not have missed much of anything. So, see you guys then, I guess. Farewell. Oh god, this water is everywhere. Those doggos were barking so hard.